I have helped over 100 women find the one within months using the steps I'm going to share with you today. If you feel like you've been doing everything right and yet you have control over everything in your life except for dating, this episode is for you because my clients have done therapy, they have read the books, and they have listened to the podcasts, and they speak to their friends about their dating life a lot. So they're being super intentional and they really put a lot of work in it, and yet it's not working. And so, what I'll be sharing with you today is not a collection of pieces of advice. This is not an essay. This is not me sharing my thoughts and musings on modern dating. This is me giving you a roadmap. I'll be sharing 5 key steps you need to take in order to engineer the process of falling in love. So bring pen and paper because this is going to be gold. If you're new here, my name is Laura Nagel. I'm a dating strategist for high achieving women and the author of the Dream Framework, the first and only dating coaching program with a 6-month results guarantee. I have helped over 100 women find the one within weeks and months, and I would love for your story to be next. Let's get into it. Step number 1 will be analyzing your relationship history. And I am not talking about self therapy here. This is purely a feedback extraction exercise. So, what you want to do is look at your past relationships, see what was working for you and why, see what wasn't working for you and why you didn't appreciate it, why it didn't feel good. I want you to name specific examples of behaviors, situations, certain dynamics, both in the I want this realm and I don't want this realm. And then I want you to look at the I don't want this realm and ask yourself why you were accepting these behaviors in the first place. Was it because you were young and didn't know any better? Was it because you thought that it's impossible for you to find anyone better? Was it because you were afraid to leave, thinking that it's very difficult to find a good man, so you might as well stick to what you have because you might exchange this guy for actually someone even worse? Was it because you didn't feel worthy and you thought that actually you are lucky to have someone, anyone, and you should just stick to what you have? Could it be that some of these situations were happening because of how you are showing up in that relationship? And something that maybe you realize is your pattern, either when you develop feelings or when you start caring a lot or you feel like your partner is not stepping up. But essentially, could it be that some of these difficult situations were not just on him, but also on you? And if so, what is behind them? I appreciate that this is something that is very difficult to do on your own, but doing that analysis of what I had in the past, why did I like it or didn't I like it, and what is my part in this, consciously or unconsciously, is going to point you to what needs to be worked on further. This could be your identity, this could be your limiting beliefs, this could be your mindset, this could be your self love. This could be the patterns you fall in when you're really into someone and you just want this to work. The second step will be getting clear on what you want, but like really clear. So many of my clients, when they first come to me, they say that they absolutely know what they want and clarity is not an issue. And then when we talk about it, when I ask them to tell me, okay, so what is it that you want? The list turns out to be extremely generic. And the problem with that is if your list is so broad, half of the male population could fit the bill, it gets you stuck in the cycle of going on dates that don't lead anywhere because you're not filtering. You're just throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping that something sticks and something works. But the problem with that approach is it burns you out really quickly because it's almost like you go on a date, you get your hopes up, and then the guy is nowhere near what you imagined him to be, what you hoped for him to be. That gets you thinking, is there something wrong with me that I'm attracting men like that? Is there something wrong with the pool that's available to me? Am I using the wrong apps? What is it? Are all the good ones taken in my age bracket? Do men just not know what they want? There are so many, when it comes to those limiting beliefs, there are so many things I could speak to, but I'll skip this for now and come back to the main point, which is you have to be super clear on what it is that you want. When you know this, filtering becomes so much easier, which means fewer dates, but better quality. And so instead of saying tall, dark, and handsome, because everybody wants that, I don't think there's a woman who would say, I don't want my man to be ambitious and I don't want him to be successful, both professionally and financially. Like, we all want this. This is how we are biologically wired. We want a man who will be able to provide for us, provide us with security. And so this is not enough. You need to get way more specific than that. And if you want a step by step instruction on how to make your list in a way that works and actually helps you filter out the men who are not aligned and navigate the dating experience better, I created a file with instructions. You can download it for free. The link is in the description. Now, once you've got your list and you've done it correctly, have a look at what you wrote about and the types of men that you're dating. Because very often, what I notice is that my students have this vision of what they want in a man, and yet the men they give chances to are nowhere near that. Which then gets us to talk about the stark contrast that you have between the two and what that means about their self image, self love, how they see themselves. Because if there is such a strong disconnect between what you say you want and what you're going for, it points at a bigger issue. It means that you either don't believe that you can get it, you maybe don't believe that a man like this exists. Maybe you don't believe that men see you that way. So it's almost like, I know I deserve better, but somehow men just don't seem to notice me. The right men just don't seem to notice me. And so maybe I'm not pretty enough. Maybe I'm not eloquent enough. That's actually what I used to believe for a long time about myself. I was like, I feel like I'm really smart and I feel like I have so much to offer, but somehow the men don't see it. I don't know why, but I feel like the only way for me to actually find someone is to lower my standards, which, spoiler alert, didn't help. It actually put me into a spiral of even worse dates that would make me doubt myself even more. So, if you are accepting less than you say you want, than you feel you deserve, get clear on why that is. This will point you towards further mindset and identity work that needs to be done. This stage is very potent for my clients because it allows us to get to the very core of what it is that's blocking them from finding the one. And once we identify that one thing, or a number of things, but it's usually one core issue with a bunch of smaller ones, we create a bespoke routine, a bespoke strategy for tackling those and for creating those necessary upgrades in themselves first so that they are ready to receive that man. So when they meet him, they don't feel intimidated. So when they meet him, they are not the ones chasing that man. They are able to allow him to chase and pursue them, and for that to feel easy and effortless. Step number 3 is my absolute favorite because I feel like no one in the online space talks about it. And what I mean is asking yourself, am I my dream man's dream woman? We put so much emphasis on who men have to be in order to meet our standards and tick the boxes, but we hardly ever stop and ask ourselves, am I compatible with the type of man that I say that I want? And let me explain, because this is not about blaming women once again, this is not me telling you you're not worthy. It's about understanding what it is that you want and making sure that you're ready for it. The example that I want to share here is something that I discovered within my own process, because before I started helping other women, I was my own first client. If you downloaded the instructions file, you know that there will be a couple of sections, and one of them will say, how does he make me feel? And how do I make him feel? And my answer to that would always be that what I make him feel is that I trust and support his vision. And I wrote it down, and amongst many other things. And then I was asking myself, point by point, am I that already? And when I got to this trust and support his vision, I was like, well, actually, no, that's not who I am. I cannot right now wholeheartedly say that I am the type of woman who trusts and supports anyone's vision except for my own. I've always been super type a control freak. It's my way or the highway. I believed that I knew best about every single thing that is going on in my life. I would find it very difficult to delegate. I would find it very difficult to trust, to allow people to just step in and do it in their own way and respect that way of doing things. And so once that clicked, I was like, okay, so if I cannot stand it that someone has a vision and is executing it, and I can't just support instead of leading, how can I have a man that leads? No wonder I attract men who are passive and who want to be the passenger princess, because I am raring to be the driver every single time. And so in this example, the problem wasn't with the man not being enough of a leader. The problem was that I wanted to be the leader all the time. And so the way I was showing up in my communication would repel the guys who were naturally driven and masculine and had the provider mindset. I'll take care of this. And I would attract the passive men I didn't want to date, because that's how I was showing up in my masculine, ready to lead, ready to tell everyone how it's going to be done. And so the shift happened not when I started looking for different men. The shift happened when I started showing up differently, and I understood that what I need to do in order to date different men is learn how to trust and learn how to lean back. And so I want you to use that list again. If you haven't done it yet, the link will be in the description. You can download the instructions for free, but use that list, create that list, and go through every single point that you will have on that list and ask yourself, am I that? Do I embody that fully? Because if you don't, prioritize getting yourself to a 10 out of 10 or however many points you have on that list first before you look out there and say that it's the men's fault that dating is not working out for you. Step number 4, invest time and energy into learning about energy dynamics. And just before you click off this episode, I am not about to tell you to learn how to shrink yourself and pretend to be shy and minimize your achievements and tell you that this is what being in your feminine energy is like, because that's not what it is at all. And all of the dating gurus out there who tell you that this is what this means can have their own opinion, I guess. But the way I teach feminine energy is seeing it as the empowered feminine, because we already see masculine as strength, right? Masculine energy is about direction, it's about getting stuff done, it's about productivity, authority, being firm, and having boundaries. And so we already see masculine as this sort of powerful thing that's desirable and that particle that you want to have in yourself, which we all do, especially if you're a high achieving woman. But very often we see feminine as something that's weak, as something that is almost a trade-off. If you're in your feminine, it means that you have to be very passive and you have to be quiet and you have to be submissive. And it couldn't be further from the truth because feminine energy is a creative force, and it's fertility, it's magnetism, it's inspiration in all types of ways, by the way, not just the literal meanings of these words. And so, in dating terms, being in your masculine, meaning directly telling others what you want them to do, stating your expectations in a list and expecting other people to fulfill it. Being in your feminine means inspiring people to show up in a way you want them to show up. It's receiving instead of forcing or pursuing. It's leaning back to create a space for other people to step up and provide. One thing that is important to mention here is that obviously, if you have a high powered job, you need to be in your masculine in order to succeed. You can't win the game, especially if you're in a male dominated field, by being soft and receptive in a professional context. This is where you do need to tune into your masculine energy and approach these tasks in these environments exactly in that armor of masculinity. The problem with that is, though, because you had to be in that armor for so long, and let's be honest, if you're the eldest child or if you are the only daughter, you are so used to taking care of everybody. This is your default. The problem is when you approach dating the way you do everything else in life, as much as this energy of being direct, being strong, being authoritative helps you create success in dating, it creates obstacles to finding a man who's secure in his masculine, finding a man who will be the one pursuing you and not having you chase him, finding a man who's intentional and consistent and can show with intention day in and day out, making you feel safe. And we want to have it both in life, right? I feel like that's the whole point of personal development, to make sure you have it all. And while I do believe you can have it all at the same time, you cannot build it at the same time. And so now that you've built all these other areas of your life up, let's zoom in on dating. And the way you build success in dating is not through being stronger, but it's actually through becoming softer. And so, what I do with my clients is allow them to stay in their masculine in all the other areas of life that they already are so highly functioning in. And we create a second mode, a second gear they shift into when they leave the office, when they're done being the daughter that holds it all together and takes care of the parents or the siblings. We create the mode of them being the goddess that is worshipped, that is adored, that is magnetic and elegant and brilliant and charming. And we make sure that these two versions can coexist peacefully and successfully. Because, and let me stress it once again, this is not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's simply about expressing yourself strategically, because just like you are different with your parents, with your colleagues, with your friends, it's still you, right? But you just express yourself in different ways. But it's still authentic. We want to create a mode like that for dating. And so, what I do with my clients here is one, we get really clear on what embodying feminine energy looks like for them, because that's very individual on your circumstances, on your vision for what you want in life, on your story, on what your ideal of a woman is. So there we take all these things into consideration. And once we're clear on what femininity is for them, we focus on creating a plan on how she's going to embody it. And once that intention is there, we create bespoke rituals to allow her to transition from that masculine mode when she's in the office to that soft, feminine, empowered creative force when she leaves the office and comes back home. Being in your empowered feminine is also insanely magnetic and hot and sexy, because feminine is also the energy of loving yourself, of recognizing your own power, but not in the masculine dominant way, but more in the fiery, sexual almost way. That is so attractive on so many levels, many of them being beyond verbal. And so that's the type of thing where you sometimes meet someone and you're like, there's just something about them. I don't even know what it is. But because it's not like they're so good looking or they're just so smart, but there's just something about them that's irresistible. It's feeling yourself, it's knowing how magnetic you are, it's owning it, it's cherishing it, it's being in love with yourself, but truly on all levels before someone else gets the chance to fall in love with you. And the fifth and final step I want to share with you today is understanding what dating intentionally really looks like. Because a very common misconception, something that I very often see in my clients when they first come to me, is that they think that dating intentionally means that you go on as many dates as possible to sort of hit the quota to optimize your chances. But like I already explained before, this just gets you into a burnout if you go on many dates, but with people who are not even close to being aligned, or where you hope that the alignment is there because they tick the big boxes, meaning they're open to having kids or they are the same religion. But just because they have this broad, very broad viewpoint similar to yours, it doesn't mean that you're going to be compatible when it comes to the small stuff. And it's the small stuff that makes us extremely happy or extremely unhappy in a relationship. And so dating intentionally is definitely not just doing the numbers and hoping something sticks. Dating intentionally is not asking straight away, so what is it that you're looking for? Because again, you think you're just being straight up, not playing games, efficient with your time. No, all that does is create this vibe of an interview. And no man that respects himself wants to be interviewed for a role of a husband in a powerful woman's household. And that's what it's giving. And also, just on a human level, if we were to flip the script and you were to be the one that's interviewed, would that make you feel good? Would that allow a space for there to be sparks and real connection and magic that you will keep going back to in your mind's eye 20 years from the time you guys meet? No, it makes it feel very corporate like. And so, this is exactly why you want to stay away from that approach. And with this, let me share a quick story here because it fits perfectly the context. One of my clients, a senior exec at Google, when we first met, she was like, I have no problem getting dates. The problem is no one texts me after. Nobody follows up. And I was like, okay, tell me more. And she was like, Laura, I'm being so intentional. I go on 2, 3 dates a week and I'm very efficient with my time. So when we match, literally within 2, 3 messages, I already ask them out. I have a wine bar where we usually meet. It's just for a quick glass of wine so that I can assess if the compatibility is there. And if it's there, then we can go for dinner, see how it goes. And so I have this whole system for vetting the right men. And somehow, even if they're checking the boxes, they are not texting me after. And I just don't know why. Then I explained to her what I explained to you just now, that by having such a corporate approach, and I completely get where she was coming from. So many of my students do it. I used to do it myself, thinking that dating is a numbers game. So if I just go on enough dates, it will definitely work out. This corporate strategic approach creates a vicious cycle because you want to be efficient with time. So you are the one who asks these men out as quickly as possible. Because you have so many dates, it's difficult for you to get truly excited about them because one, you have so many, and two, you know statistically that most of them will not be aligned anyway. So you're going into the date with the thought of, I hope this is not a waste of time, instead of, this could be the love of my life. And when you're there, again, you just want to quickly suss it out if it even makes sense for you to be there, or if you're just better off getting home and having an early night. And so, again, there is no space and opportunity for chemistry to even happen. The next big mistake that women make is thinking that they're being intentional, is having all of their expectations on their dating profile. And while again, I absolutely get it, you think that I'm just putting it all out there, no games, What this does is just positions you as boring because, let's be honest, most of us, we want the same stuff, right? We want to get married, we want to start a family, we want to get a dog, and we want a guy who will be compatible with all of that. And so there's nothing wrong with that. That's exactly what I want too. But what I'm saying is, if this is your profile, it will just drown in the sea of all the other women who are making the same mistake, trying to be strategic and efficient with their time. And so you're much better off focusing the profile on yourself and what is special and unique about you and not the things that you want. Because also, when you think about it, the men who have options, they have options. So they don't have to go for someone who feels generic. Like, even if you're good looking, being good looking, if you want to get a man who's the full package, is not enough. You also need to showcase that you're the full package. And so, being a pretty face, even if you're really confident in the looks department, if there's no personality and all you're serving is, I want someone who wants to start a family and likes cats or dogs or whatever, this is not enough. It's boring because, like I said, we all have similar desires. That's totally fine. But what these men see is just, okay, that's probably a one night stand material. I already know what to tell her. And on that note, a bonus piece I want to share is that these types of profiles, when you just put it all out there, unfortunately end up attracting toxic men. Why? Because you're giving them a roadmap to what it is that you want them to tell you and how they can lead you on exactly. And so when you set up your profile like that, it's not attracting serious men, it's attracting men who will know how to seriously screw you over. Now that you know what dating intentionally isn't, let's talk about what dating intentionally is. And here is where the challenge comes because dating intentionally will mean different things for different people. Why? Because as much as we might want similar things, the context and needs in our life are different. And so getting that clarity and understanding is a big part of what I do with my clients. And that clarity enables us to create a bespoke strategy and structure that allows them to do less but get more and to create these results within literal weeks. So, if you're curious to learn more about the Dream Framework, the first and only dating coaching program with a 6-month results guarantee, I will put the program page in the description of this episode. And if you're not even sure where to begin and what you could need help with, but you just know things are messy, take my free dating audit. It will tell you exactly what your biggest problem is in dating right now and the next 3 steps you need to take in order to fix it. In the next episode, I'll be talking all about detachment in dating. I'll walk you through 4 practical steps in how to master it and apply it in your own dating life so that you go from chasing men to them having chase you. If you're curious to learn more about this and other strategies that will help you find the one, make sure to subscribe. I post every week. See you then.